All right, guys. So our goal during our reading is to identify good and evil characters, and we've been working on this a little bit. Who can tell me what we've been working on when we identify our good and evil characters? Jaslyn, what do we use? Not a problem. We use the text evidence. You're right. What do we use the text evidence to tell us? What are we looking for, Julie?
We're looking for the good character and the evil character.
We're looking for the good character and the evil character. How do we know who the good character is?
By knowing their motivation.
Say that again.
By knowing their motivation and what they want.
What they want. Stevie, what else do we look for? Do you remember? I saw you raising your hand. Oh, okay. Okay. Thanks, Stevie. That's really nice of you. So we use their character motivation. What else? What else, John Paul?
And character traits.
Character traits. We use their character motivation and their character traits. So our goal today is to figure out or identify the good and evil characters based on their character motivation and their character traits. Remember? Character motivation and their character traits, right? So, because it's their character traits, what they want. Not what they want, that's their motivation, remember? The character traits, we'll talk about it in a minute, is what they are, like their personality. Their personality. We'll talk about that in 2 seconds though. So our goal is to identify the good and evil, the good and evil characters using their character
Motivation.
Oh, loud and proud, Josiah. Using their character
motivation
and their character traits. Good. I'm going to blank our screen so we can see a little better. There we go. So I'm going to pull up our character motivation chart. We've talked about character motivation before, so you all know what this is. Everybody stand up. Oh, I see Gabriel's ready. I see Jasmine's ready. I see Jamar's ready. Here we go. Character motivation is that we can tell what a character wants from the beginning to the end. We can tell by their actions and their dialogue. Oh, wow, guys, one more time. Are you ready? Let's do it as quiet as we can. Here we go. We tell what a character wants by their actions and their dialogue. Loud and proud. Here we go. You can tell what the character wants by their action and their dialogue. Nice job, guys. You guys remember that one. I knew you knew that one. So I made you a new chart. We've talked about character traits. We've talked about
Character traits.
You talked about
Character traits.
And I made you guys a new chart where I drew this little person. And character traits, do you remember when we talked the first time about it and we used our friend Eleazar and we talked about how we can describe him by what he is wearing. We can describe him by what he is wearing. So in my picture we have the outside, or we have physical traits. Physical traits are things like what the character is wearing, what color their hair is, what color their eyes are. In this picture on this side, I have the outside because that's what we see on the outside. This picture, he has yellow hair, he's tall, he has on boots and shorts and a green shirt, right? It's what we see. It's what we see. But character traits can also be seen what the person is like on the inside. So we have their outside. So let's see. Muna, come here. Come on up, Muna. What do we see for physical traits on the outside on Muna? Tell me 3 things. Actually, turn to your partner. Maybe join these guys back here. Actually, join Max. That's a great partner. Turn to your partner. I want you to quickly talk about what you notice on the outside. Tell me, talk about 3 things that you notice about Muna. Ready, go. it back in 2 and bring it back in 1. Bring it back in 0. Tell me 2 things you said. Addie, what did you say? Great. And what did he say about what Muna looks like on the outside?
He said yellow hair.
Yellow hair or yellow scarf? Yellow scarf. She has a beautiful yellow scarf, right? That's a great thing we notice. What else do we notice about Muna's physical traits? Those are things that we can see. What else did LJ? She has brown skin. Great. Love it. We can talk about other things too, right? She has a pink and gray and black jacket. She has a blue dress on, right? She has beautiful brown eyes. She has a beautiful smile. We talk about all kinds of things, right? Go say. Nice job. Say thanks to thanks, Muna.
Thanks, Muna.
Okay. So, but then we have things that happen on the inside. And those are things that we call personality. We call them personality. And it's things like they are talkative. They like to talk. Or maybe they're a little bit, maybe they don't like to talk too much. Maybe they are very smart. It's things that we think, their thoughts, things that we say, and things that we love or feel. Things that we feel. So things that we think, things that we say, or things that we feel. Let's do it one more time. Things that we think, things that we say, or things that we feel. Okay? So, we're going to use these today to think about who the good and the evil characters are in our fairy tale. Who can tell me about fairy tales? What in the world is a fairy tale? I know one that I'm thinking of that a lot of people know about. There's one called Cinderella. What happened? Who's in Cinderella? What's in Cinderella? What happens?
She puts on her dress and then her sisters try to ruin it.
Her sisters tried to ruin it? Tell me more about that. What else happens in Cinderella? Julian?
Her mom dies and so she still lives with her dad for a while and then her dad leaves and so when she's big and then she gets sisters so and they move in place so she goes outside and there's like this statue but she's not it's very that they made her as a princess and then we go and the rebels and she has to go back to where she lives.
Great. So, is a fairy something that can happen in your life?
No.
So there's a magic element, right? We have something that is magical. We also have people that are royal, right? We have the king, and we have the prince, and we have the queen. What else do we have?
The princess.
We have the princess.
The stepmother.
And then we have, and oh no, there's a problem. And most of our fairy tales start with once upon a time, and they end with happily ever after, right?
Yeah.
So our fairy tales are stories that are passed down from your moms and your dads and your grandmas and grandpas and aunties and uncles and even before that, right, Addie? And they're passed down to you. So they're stories that are retold and retold, and they're in every culture. They're not just in the United States, right? There's stories about Cinderella from other cultures. Does anybody have one that's similar from their culture? Does anyone have one that's similar? Yeah, Imani.
In Cinderella movie, when she had to live with her fairy god, and not her fairy godmom, her stepmom, because her mom died and her dad lived.
Okay.
And her stepmom made Cinderella clean up everything.
She wanted to go where? To the ball, right?
And she did.
She does get to go though, right?
But not that.
So today we are going to be reading a story called Rumpelstiltskin, and I'm gonna move these over so we can see them better. I'm gonna move these over. Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah. What is that?
And I have something that we're going to fill out. This is called, we're going to read a story called Rumpelstiltskin. We're going to read a story called Rumpelstiltskin. And in this story, there are 3 main characters. But we need to think of the different parts of what we read. So when we read a story, we look for the title is, so I already wrote it for us, right? We need to think about the
Setting.
which is the time and place where the story happens. And then we have our So today what we are going to do is we're going to write down each of the talking characters in our story. We're going to write down their character motivation and their character traits using text and evidence. Cool.
I'm gonna be like Ariel.
There we go.
I'm gonna be Ariel for Halloween.
Here we go. There was once a miller who was very poor, but he had a very beautiful daughter. Now it happened one day that he had the occasion to speak with the king, and in order to give himself an air of importance, the miller said, "I have a daughter who can spin gold out of straw." So the king said to the miller, "That is an art which I am much interested in. If your daughter is as skillful as you say she is, bring her to my castle tomorrow and I will put her to the test." The next day, when the girl was brought to the castle, the king took her to a chamber that was quite full of straw and gave her a spinning wheel. "Now set to work," he said, "and if between tonight and tomorrow at dawn you have not spun this straw into gold, you must die." Then the king carefully locked the door of the chamber and she remained alone. Julian, what?
It's kind of the same as Snow White.
Tell me more.
Because the queen in Snow White said that when they tried to kill her, but and the prince said if she makes the thing together and for to make this job, she will die.
Yeah. Very nice. Good connection there, Julian. There sat the unfortunate miller's daughter, and for the life of her, she did not know what to do. She had not the least idea how to spin straw into gold, and she became more and more distressed until at last she began to cry. But Max was going to set up the story. Oh, here. I'll sit up here. Is that better? Is that better? You said I'm going better? All at once the door sprang open and in stepped a little man who said, "Good evening, Mistress Miller. What are you weeping for?" "Alas," answered the maiden, "I've got to spin gold out of straw and I don't know how to do it." Then the little man said, "What will you give me if I spin it for you?" "My necklace," said the maiden. The little man agreed. He sat down at the spinning wheel and whir, whir, whir. In an instant, the reel was full. Then he put on another reel and whir, whir, whir 3 times around, and that too was full. And so it went on until morning, when all of the straw was spun and all the reels full of gold. With that, the little man took the necklace and disappeared. I noticed a talking character. I noticed that there is a talking character. His name is Rumpelstiltskin, right? I'm going to write his name in green.
Not on the book. Not on the book. Can you do the let it go book? Where should you write it in the book?
I'm going to write Rumpel because I don't have a whole lot of room. His name's pretty long.
Wait, who's Rumple?
So I have Rumple, and I'm gonna draw a picture of my friend Rumple. Here's the little man right here.
I can't see. What is Rumple's skin? I can't see.
Stop.
I can see him. What do you
Okay.
have?
There's more pictures of him.
Is he
So I'm gonna draw his little face, and he has his little hat. Did somebody notice? So I'm gonna draw his little smile. I'm not the best artist, but that's okay, right? And I noticed that his character motivation is to what? His character motivation, what does he want? He wants to have something special, right? He wants to take something special
Is that a cat?
where? Oh, it's my characters, remember?
Oh.
And then
It is.
I have his character traits. I noticed that he is very tricky. His personality is very tricky. He tricks the girl. He says, I'll do it for you, but what are you going to give me, right? He says, you have to give me a necklace. And so in the story, my text evidence is that, on your bottoms. In the story, my text evidence is that he says, what will you give me? So I'm going to write, what will you give me?
And the girl said, I'll give you my necklace.
Yeah. You'll see more, there's more pictures of him. You'll see. Here we go. Immediately at sunrise, the king came into the chamber. And when he saw the piles of glittering gold, he was so surprised and so pleased. Oh, we're being respectful. But this sight made him more greedy. So he had his guards take the miller's daughter to another chamber, much larger than the first one and also full of straw. And he again ordered her to spin all the straw into gold in one night if she valued her life. The maiden was at her wit's end, and she began to weep. Once again, the door sprang open, and in came the little man. What will you give me if I spin the straw into gold for you? He asked. The ring off my finger, answered the maiden. The little man took the ring, began to whir again at the wheel, and had by morning spun all of the straw into gold.
You're tricking him.
The king was delighted at the sight of the piles of gold, but was still not satisfied. He had the miller's daughter taken to an even larger chamber full of straw and said, tonight you must spin all of this into gold, and if you succeed, you shall become my queen. Even if she's only a miller's daughter, he thought, I won't find a richer woman in the whole world. I noticed another talking character. Turn to your partner.
It's the
Oh.
prince.
Turn to your partner.
It's
I want to hear the talking character is his motivation. What does he want? Ready, go. Eyes on me in 3, eyes on me in 2, eyes on me in 1. Raise your hand. Who is the talking character? Jay Sean, who is the talking character?
The prince.
Oh, give me a whole sentence, please.
The talking character is the prince.
The talking character is the prince. Let's write him in red.
Marry the
The prince.
prince.
So I'm going to draw a person with a crown, okay? Right, Max?
That's the prince. Princess, that looks like he has spiky hair.
Oh, well, it's his crown, so we can remember that that's the prince, right? So the prince, what is his motivation, Jasek? The prince's motivation is what? He wants to be rich.
I would like to write on.
Go ahead, Julian.
Except because he does want to be rich, and if she makes lots of gold,
want to marry her?
No.
Is he in love with her? No. Why does he want to marry her?
Because
Why does he want to marry her, LJ? Tracking LJ.
tracking LJ. Because he wants to. He wants to have all the gold that she made.
He wants to have all the gold she made. You're right. He wants to be rich. He wants to have all of
I
the
don't
gold.
get it right now.
So what's confusing you, Julie?
Wait, is this true in the book? Is this gold heavy?
Well, a gold is like money.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
So
So she's turning straw into money. So the king says, I really want this person to be around because she's making me really rich, right? She's making me even richer.
And the gold isn't that heavy.
The gold is kind of heavy.
Like,
So now that we have talked about what he wants to be rich. Turn to your partner. Turn to your partner. Quick, let's go. Decide, turn to your partner. Oh, turn back to the front. Our voices are on. I hear our voices. Turn to your partner. That's awesome. Hold on one second. I want you to talk with your neighbor. If his motivation is that he wants to be rich, what does that tell you about his character traits? Is he nice? Is he mean? Is he sneaky? Is he greedy? Is he self-centered, selfish?
What?
Think about self-centered is kind of the same as selfish one.
Oh.
What are his personality traits? What do we learn about the character? Ready, go. Eyes on me in 3, eyes on me in 2, eyes on me in 1, eyes on me in 0. I heard some really good conversation about that. So, what is the prince's character traits? Tell me, Jaslyn.
The princess character traits are for so she can keep making more gold, and
Okay, he wants to be rich.
I think
That's his motivation. Sneaky, okay.
because I think he's going to make her make more gold.
Okay, you think he's
When
sneaky?
she-
Oh, her turn.
when she becomes his queen.
Okay, so he's sneaky because he's marrying her so that she can get more gold. What do we think? Julio, go ahead.
I'm adding on because he wants to be selfish. So, because he doesn't actually want to marry her. He just wants her to make more gold for him.
Okay. Tell me more. What do you guys think? Go ahead. What else? Nevaeh.
I think he is selfish because he wants the little girl to spin the hay into gold
Why does that make him selfish?
because he wants to get all he wants to let the little girl spin all the hay into gold.
What do you guys think about that?
I disagree with you, Nevaeh, because the king is I agree with you saying selfish because the king doesn't care about the girl. He just wants the gold.
Do we agree with this? What do you guys think?
Yeah.
I agree with you, Juanito, um, and both of them are being selfish. I mean, sneaky bitch. The king doesn't know that. The king doesn't know that. The girl, isn't making the gold. It's the first person. So and
Oh, I see.
the girl didn't know that the king just wants to be rich.
Good. Okay, so I heard a couple things. I heard some kids saying that they think that the prince is sneaky, and it sounded like we agreed. And then Nevaeh said that she thought that the prince was selfish. And I have to say, I think I agree with Miss Nevaeh. Selfish means that he's worried about himself. Does he care about the lady? No.
He cares
Julia
about
just
the
told me.
gold.
She wants him to make the gold, right? That's what he wants to marry her for. What did this story told us? What's our text evidence? What's our text evidence? Who haven't I heard from? Marcelina, what's the text evidence that tells us he's sneaky and selfish? Should I read the page again? Yeah? Okay. It said, the king was delighted at the sight of the piles of gold, but was still not satisfied. He had the miller's daughter taken to an even larger chamber full of straw and said, tonight you must spin all of this until it turns to gold, and if you succeed, you shall be my queen. Listen, here we go. Even if she's only a miller's daughter, he thought, I won't find a richer woman in the world. What do you think? What's the text evidence?
The text evidence says that.
What does he say? What happens in this story that tells you? What do you think, Marcelino? What does he say? What does he say?
That she said she has created, even though she's the.
Why does he want her to be his queen?
So he could be rich.
He wants her to be his queen so he can be rich. He says, I won't find a richer woman in the whole world. Right, Juan?
Yeah.
Says, I won't find a richer woman in the whole world. Nice job, guys. Nice work. So, let's finish the story. Let's see what happens.
I don't get it. Too. How does the hay turn into gold?
It's just magic, right? It's magic. Remember in fairy tales we have magic, right? When the young girl was alone, the little man came to her again and said for the third time, what will you give me if I spin this straw? What will you give me if I spin the straw for you this time, Hila? Last one. I have nothing more than I have nothing more than I can give you, answered the maiden. Well, promise me your first child if you become queen. Who knows what might happen, thought the miller's daughter, and she didn't know what else to do. So she promised the little man what he had asked, and again he spun the straw into gold. So what did she just promise him? What did she promise him?
I remember this one.
Her daughter.
When the king arrived in the morning and found everything done as he had wished, he soon kept his promise and married the miller's daughter, and she became queen. When 1 year had passed, a beautiful child was born to the queen, but by that time she had forgotten all about the little man. One day, however, he suddenly entered the queen's chamber and said, now you must give me what you have promised. The queen was terrified, and she offered the little man all of the wealth and the treasures in the world. Then the queen began to moan and weep so much that the little man's heart softened and he felt sorry for her. I will give you 3 days, he said, and if within that time you discover my name, you may keep the child, LJ. During the night, the queen tried to remember all the names that she had ever heard, and she sent a messenger all over the country to ask far and wide what other names there were. When the little man came the next day, she began with Casper, Melchior, Balazar, and mentioned all the names she knew, one after the other. But at every one, the little man said, nope, that's not my name. On the second day, She asked Muna all around the neighborhood for the names of people who were living there. And she suggested to the little man all the most unusual and strange names. Perhaps your name is Cow Ribs, Spindle Shanks, and Lace Legs. But he answered every time, nope, that's not mine.
It's Russell. It's
On the third day, the queen's messenger returned to the castle. I haven't been able to find any new names, he said, but as I came around the corner of a wood on a lofty mountain where the fox says goodnight to the hare, I saw a little house. And in front of the house was a fire burning. And around the fire, an indescribably ridiculous little man was leaping and hopping on one leg and singing. Today I bake, tomorrow I brew my root beer. The next day I will bring the child here. And lucky it is that not a soul does know that Rumpelstiltskin is my name. Ho ho! Now you can imagine how delighted the queen was when she heard the name, and when, soon afterward, the little man came in and asked, "Now, your majesty, what is my name?" At first, she asked, "Is your name Coons?" No. Is it Hines? No. Is it by chance Rumpelstiltskin?
Yes.
Who told you that? Who told you that? Shrieked the little man in rage. He stamped his right foot into the ground so deep that he sank down up to his waist. Then he jumped up and flew out of the window, riding on a cooking spoon. The end.
Wait.
That's gonna kill him?
Is that a silly story?
Yeah.
So, quickly, I want us to talk. We talked about 2 of the talking characters. There was one more talking character. Who was the other talking character that we didn't have time to talk about? Well, we talked about Rumpelstiltskin. Who else was it? Josiah.
The queen.
Who was it, Josiah?
The queen.
The queen. We could talk about the queen too, right? She was a talking character in the story. Quickly, we're going to do this so that we can get to our desks and get started. Here we go. What is Rumpelstiltskin's motivation? We talked about that. Rumpelstiltskin's motivation is to take something special to get the maiden to give him her baby. I know this because he says, "Promise me your first child if you become queen." And he wants to trick her into having to give him her baby. I remember I answer my R, A, C. Restate, answer, cite your evidence.
I don't want to do that.
Oh.
It's gonna be hard.
Over there. You can do it.
I don't know. I don't know.
What is the maiden's motivation? Turn to your neighbor. Turn to your neighbor.
No, for real. I know this because.
Turn to your neighbor. Restate the question. Ready, go. The question is, what is the maiden's motivation? Restate. Ready, go. Bring it back in 3. Bring it back in 2. Bring it back in 1.
What? You didn't even give us time to do
What is the restate? It's really easy, that's why. What's the restate? 3, 2, 1. What is it, LJ?
You guys sure don't trust that. The main motivation is.
Okay, here we go. The maiden's motivation is, quickly turn to your partner. We're going to answer the question. Quickly, turn to your partner, let's go. And go.
The main motivation is
What's the maiden's motivation? Yes, you go. The queen's. What's the queen's motivation?
The queen motivation is.
First grade, the maiden is the same person as the queen.
No.
What is the queen's motivation? Bring it back in 3, bring it back in 2, bring it back in 1, bring it back in 0. What is the maiden's motivation? Somebody else. Gail, what's the maiden's motivation?
The main motivation is that he wants.
The maiden is the queen. What's her motivation? Guys, think about the queen. to her?
She will die.
She was going to get killed if she didn't do what?
Make gold.
Make gold. So her motivation is to what?
Make gold.
Is to what?
Make gold.
So that what doesn't happen?
She doesn't get killed.
To make the gold so she doesn't get killed. The gold so that she can live, right? You agree?
Yes.
I agree with the big
How do you know?
the baby into gold.
How do you know? How do you know?
That's good.
Nevaeh, how do you know?
I know this because in the text it showed me like
What is she doing? What happens at the beginning of the story?
the beginner in the story. I know this because in the text is showing.
What does the maiden say?
And Marty, she said,
What do you think, Elisha?
mm,
It's okay, Nevaeh. What do you think, Elisha? Remember what happened at the beginning of the story? She was doing what?
Making gold.
Well, she was, but was she?
No.
Her dad sent her there. How was she feeling?
Sad. Sad. Because she didn't know to make the
She was feeling sad and maybe a little scared, right?
Because she didn't know how to make gold.
She didn't know how to make gold. So how do we know that in the story? It says she was weeping. She was.
Also in the story.
Oh, so many bottom.
Also in the.
Okay. At your desk today, you are going to work on an RAC. We're going to restate the question, answer the question, and cite our
Evidence.
Okay.
Unwheel the aisle.
Here is your thing. Who is the evil character? Who is the evil character? That is what you are going to work on.
the king or
If you need to, you can draw a picture instead. Most of you can write in the word though. Restate, answer, cite your evidence.
What are we doing?
Restate is when we do what? Just like when we stretch out our sentence, right? On the side.
Bye.
I'm grabbing this one.